welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about ongoing manhwa series that I'm currently obsessed with. So if you didn't know, manhwa are comics from South Korea. I read manhwa either through apps such as Webtoons or Tapas, or when they're physically released, I will buy them and read them instead. I do find that physical releases definitely take longer to be released, and it's usually available digitally first. If I read a series online and I really enjoy it, then I tend to, once there's a physical release, buy the physical release versions as further support for the author and the artist. I find that when I read manhwa online, I need to read at least 50 chapters or more to get an idea of whether I will enjoy the story. And if it's the physical version like this, usually the first volume is enough for me to see if I'm hooked or not. And that's because the physical releases usually have like a lot more chapters combined into one book. Usually the manhwa that I read are adaptations from web novels. I found that sometimes the storyline does either veer away from the novel, or there's more in-depth explanations or dive into certain characters or storylines in the manhwa than the novels. So the tropes that I usually enjoy when I'm reading manhwa falls along the lines of the protagonist being a villainess or a saint, and they've either time reversed, so they went back in time, they've either been reincarnated into this world, or they were isekai, so like they were plopped into this world through some form of magic. And the worlds that I usually read have some form of fantasy, and there's usually either a romance plot, or it's a subplot. You see 3 physical releases here. There are a couple more that have not been physically released yet that I will also be talking about. When I talk about those, I will have it popped up on here for you to see the cover of the series that I'm talking about. So I will talk about the physical books that I have first, and then I will talk about the ones that I read digitally. So the first one we're going to talk about, and I have it here, is A Stepmother's Martian. There are currently 5 volumes that are released. I think the 6th volume is being released this month. So you might hear an update from me in the future, a potential book haul, because I feel like a lot of good books that I've been wanting is out. And there's a sale going on too for some websites that I shop from. So I would define A Stepmother's Martian as a time reversal, family bonding with some romance, but the romance is not like important at the moment, especially with the 5 volumes that I've read so far. So the plot is about Shuri, who is our protagonist. She is sold to the Neuschwanstein head as a child so her family can get some money. So her family is like a Viscount family, but they're very poor and they were desperate for money, so they sold her to him. The head is much older and has 4 kids already, and you'll see them here. So Jeremy, Elias, and then the twins, Rachel and Leon. Shuri is very much against this as a child. Like it's like, yeah, you're getting married to an older guy. She really did not want this, but she was also living in a situation that was not ideal for her. The head convinces her to come with him and grooms her into this belief that if she stays with him and helps him manage the land, at the end she will have a home and warmth, like something that she's always desired in a family. But then he dies when she's a teenager, and she is left alone to take care of the kids. As the widow to the Neuschwanstein family, she holds the title as the head of the family. And so she promises her husband that she will take care of the kids, do everything she can to protect her title until Jeremy becomes of age to lead. And the reason for this is because there are a lot of nobles, especially within the family, who want to take the title or take advantage of the kids so that they can have the power to do whatever they want, since this title is prestigious family within the kingdom. Due to her one-track mind of wanting to protect the family and her title, she basically focuses a lot on finding ways to make sure that the nobles can't take her title away from her, and also protecting her kids at the same time. But because of this, she focuses less on understanding her kids, on bonding with them, and so she ends up having a bad relationship with them. On the day Jeremy is to be wed, and when he's an adult and she's giving him the title as head of the Neuschwanstein family, she leaves to retire in the countryside, and unfortunately, on the way there, she mysteriously dies. She is then taken back in time to the day of her husband's funeral and decides that she wants to change her future. And the reason why is because she has a lot of regrets. She wishes that she could have spent more time with her kids and understood them more. And so in the second chance that she was given, she decides that she's going to, of course, fight for her title to continue as head, but also spend more time with her kids and getting to know them. And so I very much love the family bonding in this story. Like, it's just so good and so sweet, and the personalities of the children are it's just so good. I don't know how to explain it. I just love to see from her viewpoint as she watches the kids grow. I feel like even though the story had a lot of misunderstandings in the first timeline, I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. They are kids. They have to be adults already before they can even be kids. They don't even have the chance to learn from their mistakes. They're basically like left out to the adults to like survive, and these adults are just clinging on to them so they can take advantage of them. And so I totally understood the misunderstandings. I feel like it helped to drive the plot, because then it helps Shuri to reflect back on what happens in the past and change that in the future. I really enjoyed the storyline so far. There's political stuff at play too within this story that I think adds more angst and drama, which I feel is meant to move the plot forward, because you have these forces that are going against the family, and the family is doing things that they can to survive. And I feel like there's two different sides to this story. There's like the dark, angsty, political side of it, but then there's also the lighthearted family bonding time. And the artist does really well at differentiating this. Like, they'll add warmth or pink, a certain color to the family bonding time that just makes it feel so sweet and like a good time for our family. And then when it gets dark, like just the expressions, the darkness of the colors. Let me show the darkness. That, yeah, like this, like just the paneling is dark, the characters' expressions are dark, foreboding. Like, I just feel like the artist portrays these emotions really well through the coloring. And so that's why I also really enjoyed this story, because the storyline is good and the art is good too. Like, they're both good together, and it's just I cannot wait to get the 6th volume. That is A Stepmother's Martian. The next series that I'm going to talk about is Villains Are Destined to Die. So there are currently 7 volumes out right now for this series. This series falls along the lines of the protagonist becomes the villainess, they're isekai into this world, and there's also romance as well. So it's like a romance. I feel like this storyline is pretty interesting, because while our protagonist is dropped into the villainess's body, there's like game features within this series. Let me talk about the plot first. We have the protagonist, who's right here. I don't think her name is ever mentioned yet, but she is in like what you would call modern day Korea. And she plays a game called Daughter of the Duke's Super Love Project. It's like a dating sim where her character romances dateable characters. So it's like a typical otome game, right? And she discovers after she finishes, I guess what is called easy mode, that there's a hard mode where she gets to play the villainous Penelope. And this is Penelope. And it is very much hard mode, because she has to be very careful with her choices. And if she's not, then Penelope ends up dying. Our protagonist is very determined to find a pathway for Penelope to survive, because in the story, she points out that Penelope is going through very much a similar situation as she had gone through before she finally escaped it and is now an adult and having her own independence. And so because she resonates with Penelope, she's like so determined to help Penelope survive. With this determination though, when she wakes up the next day after playing the game, she finds that she is in fact in Penelope's body. When I talk about the game features, at the beginning, when she's plopped into this world as Penelope, she's basically forced to follow game mechanics. So for example, when you play otome games, you get to choose between certain options when you're talking to characters. And that basically affects how the character will like you or open up different scenes to situations depending on how much the character continues to like you. So like the dateable characters. And I'll just show an example of that. So like right here, you'll see that she has to choose between 3 choices and how she responds to the maid, for example. And so she's stuck like this at the beginning, where she does not have the independence of controlling her body. Like her body is basically being controlled by these choices. As she continues to progress and plays the game, she is suddenly given like a pop-up. And this is like a hidden quest. And these hidden quests, if she completes them successfully, gives her some pretty good rewards. Depending on the choices that she makes. And for one of these hidden quests, the award is the option to free roam the game. So this means she gets like a 4th option or something where she can choose to respond her own way. I feel like once this happens, once she unlocks this reward, that's when things start getting interesting, especially in her interactions with like the dateable characters. Yeah, and so that's the premise of the story. And our protagonist is dropped into this world before the original protagonist in the game is supposed to pop up. And so our protagonist's goal is to ally with one of the dateable characters so that she can survive at the end, because her thought is that once she beats the game as Penelope and survives, then she'll be able to return to her own world. I feel like in this case it makes sense because things pop up like a game. I feel like she is very much detached from the world that she's in. It's very interesting to see how she views things because of this and how she decides to make decisions through this. It's a different take from other series that I've read before that have similar tropes. So I just cannot stop reading, and the art style is good, the characters are good, some of them are like scumbags, but it just continues to make me want to read it because of the way that Penelope decides to take action or not take action or reacts to these characters. So yeah, so that's Villains Are Destined to Die. And then our final physical book that I have is Under the Oak Tree. So this series currently has 2 volumes that are released right now. I would say that it's a romance fantasy. It's interesting because this is one of my series that I read that actually does not have any isekai, villainous trope, or anything like that. I think what really compelled me to read this series is the relationship between our 2 main characters, and because there's some smut in it that I really enjoy. Let me go into the plot. So the plot is about Maximilian. She is arranged marriage to Riften, who is a lowborn knight. This is part of her father's scheme so that he can avoid being part of a campaign to kill a dragon. So when her father is drafted to be a part of the campaign, he has Riften join instead. And Riften agrees to being part of the campaign if he marries Maximilian or Maxi. They strike this deal and Riften goes in place of her father. So he leaves on this campaign the day after they get married. After 3 years, he comes back a hero, a war hero. And he has a much higher title now. And then we find out that in the 3 years that Maxi has been married to Riften, she has been staying at her family's home and has not gone to Riften's home. And so what happens is that Riften goes to her parents' home to get her because, yeah, like, that's my wife, right? Like, she needs to be with me in my home. And so that's where her story begins, is when Riften takes her home and she learns more about his household, learns more about him, and learns how she fits into his home. That's like the storyline, but I feel like what really draws me to this story is the characters. There's angst and it hurts me because Maxi was abused or was still being abused by her father and being mistreated by her family. Because she has this stutter, her family treats her poorly, saying that she's bringing shame to the family. And then we have Riften, who like is like this gruff soldier who has the hardest time communicating how he feels, and he rather choose to like show action instead of talk about things. And so we have Maxie, who's been abused and has such a hard time talking already, with Riften, who is huge, like he's super tall, he's very intense and intimidating, and he doesn't like to talk to her about stuff. Like he just be like, I'm just gonna show you. And so there's always a lot of miscommunication because of this. And it just frustrates me, and it's just like so angsty. But at the same time, like I understand why this miscommunication is happening, because of the environments that they've grown up in, because of their statuses. There's just this invisible line between them that's very hard for them to cross, because they're making assumptions about each other. And so I just like continue to just read it, because I just like to see the character development between the two of them, especially from Maxie, as she continues to grow self-confidence, as she continues to find out herself and work on her stutter, because her stuttering becomes way worse when she has a lack of confidence or when she's afraid, and she really wants to overcome that because she wants to be able to communicate with people. The art style is also very good, and the intensity or the atmosphere, just I feel like it's well done. As each volume comes out, every time I do have to buy it, it's very good. And they are pretty pricey because it's hardcover. It's like beautiful, like it's hardcover, heavy, and yeah, I just look at the art style. I cannot. I just really like it. And so yeah, so that's Under the Oak Tree. And we are done with the physical copies that I have. The next few series that I'm going to be talking about, I'll just have the titles and the characters shown on the screen while I talk about them. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is How to Win My Husband Over. There's currently 3 seasons out right now, and the 3rd season is ongoing, and I read it on Tapas. So the trope is like the villainous trope, and it's like a romantasy. So I'll first talk about the plot. Our protagonist is plopped into the body of the villainess Rudbeckia de Borgia, or Ruby, where she's set to marry Iska, who is a paladin from the Northern Duchy. I always have a hard time pronouncing that. From a novel that she read in her previous life. So in this novel, her character treated Iska's family poorly and did everything that she could to be evil and to help her family. What our protagonist explains is that Ruby was manipulated from her family to have power over others. And in the end, it backfires because Iska kills her and her family. With this knowledge, the protagonist is determined to survive. So she decides that she's going to kiss up to Iska to show him that even though like it's fake, like she really loves him and that she's not going to do anything to hurt him or his family. And so that's basically how where the story goes. And oh my gosh, I swear. I don't know why, but for some reason, and you might start seeing this trend with me right now too, is that for these manhwa, it's the angst and the frustration and like the character relationships that really drives me to read these manhwa, because this series has so much angst. I've cried so much with every chapter that I've read. Oh my gosh, like the pain that I feel for Ruby as she's just trying to like survive and have a good relationship with Iska's family. Like I can totally understand why the previous Ruby, why she was so mean, because like she's already being treated as a villainess, as a bad person, due to rumors that Iska's family has heard about her from afar, even though it was from her family's manipulation as well. My heart bleeds for Ruby and what she does. But at the same time, like, yes, Iska is pretty bad at the beginning with communicating with Ruby and just wanting to leave her alone, because he really did not want to get married to her. But because it's a political marriage and he didn't want his sisters to end up getting married to her family, he decides to do the marriage instead, but he chooses to ignore her like she doesn't exist because he didn't want this marriage in the first place. Like sometimes when you're ignoring the problem, it's not going to help stuff. And him ignoring her and not helping her out, not understanding that yes, she's from a family that is evil. She herself could be a victim, or she herself could be placed in a totally new environment where everyone is hostile towards her. And we just basically see how their relationship with each other grows, and their relationship is so good. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, like just the amount of tears and the amount of I'm like, yes, that, or no, or like my reactions to this story is just, yeah. I just really love this storyline. And yeah, I haven't read the third season yet because I have a problem where once I read, I cannot stop reading. So I'm waiting for the third season to be finished first before I read it. And so that is how to win my husband over. So the next series I'm going to be talking about is I Shall Master This Family. There's currently 5 seasons out, and this is being published on Tabbytoon. So this storyline falls along the line of time reversal and family bonding. The plot of this story is that we have Florentia, who is an illegitimate child of the Lombardi family. And the Lombardi family is one of the most powerful families in the kingdom. So in her first life, she helps her grandfather, who is the head of the family, manage the land and family when he gets sick. But once he passes away, she gets kicked out because she's an illegitimate child. Like, she has no rights to being head of the family. And so someone else takes on as head of the family. A jerk, and she just basically watches as the family gets ruined. And then she's brought back in time to when she is a child, and this is the time when her grandfather is deciding between his kids, nieces, and nephews on who will be the next head of the family. And so because she's brought back as a kid, many of the seasons is focused on her as a kid and how she's proving to her grandfather that she should be the next head of the family. I really enjoy this story because I just love seeing justice, and I love seeing how Florentia is Tia is bringing down those around her, especially those who have bad intentions on how they want to use the Lombardi family title. Yeah, so I feel like it's very Mary Sue like, if you know what that means. So Mary Sue is like where the character is just so perfect, like everything that she does, everything always goes well. And I feel like that is very much the case in this storyline, is that Tia does give me a Mary Sue vibe. But again, like, I just love seeing justice. And I love seeing the family bonding. I love seeing how she changes things in this current timeline. It's very satisfying to see. And so that continues to drive me to read the story, and also the romance plot too. It's like so sweet and cute. Like, I cannot, like, I just, if there's some sweet romance here, I need to read it. So that is I Shall Master This Family. The next series I'm going to talk about is Behind Her Highness's Smile. This currently has 99 chapters on Webtoons, and that's where I read it from. This series is another angsty one, I would say. There's a lot of trauma and angst, and there is romance too, but I feel like it's a very slow burn romance. So we have our male lead, Eric. He returns from the battlefield as like a hero, and as a reward for his achievements, the king offers him his sister's hand in marriage. The catch is that Eric finds out that there's something wrong with the king's sister, and her name is Mieza. There's something wrong with her mentally and possibly physically as well. So much to the point that she needs to be taken care of like a child, because the way that she behaves is very childlike, but also I would say like an animal, like a wild animal in a way as well. And she cannot communicate with anyone. Like when she talks, like it's just gibberish. People call her like crazy and stuff because that's how she acts in front of everyone. Once they get married and Eric brings her home and he spends more time with her, he does find out that there may be more to the reason why she behaves like this, that she is acting this way on purpose, and he doesn't know why. And so the story is very much focused on him figuring out why she's acting like this. There's also political things happening in the background as well. I very much enjoy reading this series because of Eric and Mieza. And oh my gosh, like Eric is so respectful to Mieza. And it makes sense because she's like she acts like a child. He like, instead of like mistreating her or like just ignoring her, like he literally takes his time to take care of her, because he's like, that's my duty as her husband, like I'm going to do her right. And it's just so good to see. Yeah, he is such a green flag husband. And we also have Miyasa, who I would say is smart. Even though she can't communicate well and she has to behave a certain way, she knows that she has to behave this way in order to survive. And yes, she's gone through a lot of trauma. She has PTSD, and because of her brother, the king, she needs to act like this. She needs to act like she's crazy or that she's like a child and she can't do anything in order for the king to keep his eye away from her and for her to be able to protect Eric. She can see how much he's caring about her. Oh yeah, and it's just the bond between them both, just watching them as they grow together. It's just as their relationship develops together, like it's just so good. The relationship between Eric and Miyasa is what continues to make me want to read this story. So that is Behind Her Highness's Smile. And the last series I'm going to talk about is For My Derelict Favorite. There's currently 3 seasons out right now, and this series is also available on Webtoon. And this story falls along the lines of, it's like an isekai with like a time reversal. And the protagonist is not a villainess or a saint. She's a commoner. So let me explain the plot because then it'll make sense. So we have the protagonist. So she finds out that she's been isekai'd into a novel that she has read previously. But since her character has nothing to do with the main characters in the novel, she thinks that if she does nothing, that the story will move forward, and then once it reaches the end, she'll be able to return back to her original world again. But when this does not happen and she dies, she just has so much regret. She's like, oh my gosh, like I could have done something, because no matter what I did, I'm still stuck in this world. And so like she dies, and then with this regret, she's miraculously returned back to the past again, to when she had first been isekai'd into this world. And so she decides that she's going to take charge this time and save her favorite character, Kailis, I think that's how you say his name, who offed himself in the first timeline. And yeah, so this is a really good story so far. Like I really enjoy it, and it has like Hestia is a strong female lead, and she does everything in her power to change things for Kailis, because like the original male lead and the original female lead like literally did him wrong, and she is so angry about that, and she's gonna do everything in her power to help him, to make sure that he is happy in this timeline. And I just love her devotion to him and how he then begins to see that, and how the relationship starts forming because of that. Again, like what drives me in a lot of these series that I'm reading are the characters. Like the characters are just so, to me, like they're just so good. They're like strong, and they're doing things to change themselves, but also they fight for those that they love. That's what really drew me to this story. And so yeah, these are the manhwa series that I'm currently obsessed with. If you like my video, please like and subscribe, and comment down below. Are there any current manhwa series that you're obsessed with? If I haven't mentioned it here, which ones are you obsessed with right now? Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!